is this?
That was on the standout record.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Hip
it
hop
was.
ringtone. I can't have a ringtone for Jesus.
This.
That was on the standout record. Oops. I
Are
always
we
It
on?
was on
Are we live yet?
Yeah,
Yeah,
baby,
we
we
live.
live.
I
We
just heard my
live.
Yeah, we
It's
live.
so
Maybe,
fun.
maybe we should let everybody know what we've been talking about before. Before the live started abruptly,
I take no
because I
responsibility for
wasn't.
anything.
Always
It's
does.
it's not Ryan's fault who started it. It's my fault. I wasn't paying attention. We were talking about like Christian hip hop and like songs that like we grew up on. So like that's what we talked about. Just
Yeah.
That's it. We're gonna stop. We're
that's
gonna
what we talked about. It was it was a fire conversation. We should have had it here.
God ain't pleased. And since when did it become cool for you? Never mind.
I can't dance to that no more.
Those
Feel like
lyrics were
it's
problematic.
Yeah, baby. That's like
Those,
fine. Like, I was moving my stuff not that long ago when I was moving to Seattle, and I found these like purity booklets that were like
uh,
God's Guide to Purity, and I was like,
burn.
I had pamphlets and bracelets and
Wow.
rings and business for this. Ooh, so you can keep your wraps. I got my own baggage.
My
You
God.
can keep
Oh,
that.
purity movement.
Thanks.
I
Thanks.
got my
Well,
baggage. That's amazing.
The purity movement was just about getting teenage girls to admit they had sex, and that's the nastiest thing about the purity movement. That was the craziest time I've ever seen in my life. It was like they didn't check any of the boys' purity. It was just the girls.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yep.
that was one of the crazy. I'm like, fam, do you know what I'm doing in these streets?
And they're out here making women pledge their virginity at the altar to their
Damn,
dads, and you're like, oh,
damn,
Christian patriarchy runs
damn. It
deep.
was
I,
crazy.
I
I was
think
never exposed to any of this, so I have no idea what y'all are talking about.
same.
I
I was just
wasn't.
about to say I wasn't.
I was around it, but
I wasn't in
like,
church then.
Bro.
Well, that's
Oh no, yeah.
lucky you.
Oh yeah, JC belonged to the game at that point. He belonged to the game.
You know, out there
Oh,
holding the
Gosh.
street of Milwaukee,
oh my God.
repping hard.
Oh,
Boricua.
Oh, at least we don't.
Kumbaya!
Well, at least we know it can't get worse than this. We've we've set our own bar
Wow.
personally quite low, so we're just gonna upward
This is-
trajectory this business.
Oh my goodness.
Hey, Brittany, we wrote a theme song.
We did write a theme song, you guys. We've been talking about it for about a month and 2 weeks now.
I haven't heard
But
it.
we wrote a theme song
Okay.
You didn't
and we
want to
finished it. What'd you say, Gabby?
He said I haven't heard it, and I said, well, you didn't want to be a part of it, so.
This is very true. D has ignored all of our text messages for the past 3 days, except the messages where Gabby was putting JC on blast, where JC was having to like keep his little rats when he was a teenager.
You came up with that.
No, but my phone was broken except for those text messages. My internet was out. And my service was out except for the JC text messages. So I never saw the theme song once because my I didn't
Whatever.
have
It's fire, and you have nothing to do with it, so it's fire.
Oh my
Oh,
any-
no.
Hey,
Gabby want all the smoke today.
God.
Gabby, listen, I don't know what's going on in the Velez household, but Gabby has wanted to smoke she wanted to smoke first with JC. And I didn't want to say nothing, but nah, she wanted to smoke with JC. I don't know why I'm getting the smoke all of a sudden, but that's
I
crazy.
love you. I'm just kidding.
It's all love.
No, it's just true. Like D, you just didn't want to be a part of the song, but it's fine because we're gonna just go ahead and play the song that D didn't write.
Let's call it that.
It's parenthetical subtitle, yeah.
I am very excited to hear the theme song, even though y'all are just dissing me. So I'm ready.
Love you.
I'm ready for the theme song.
All right,
Go
hold
for it.
up, hold up, hold up, hold up.
You're reading your-
It's been a long time, yeah. Hey, it's been a long time, hey, hey. Hey, yo, what day is it? Oh shoot, that's right.
Sunday.
Sunday night is calling me to chill with my crew. Gotta find my phone, they're hanging out on YouTube. It's a cyber soirée, hey. Time to link up, I'm on the way, hey. So much in the world to conversate about, we keeping it real. And the music stay loud, always giving the feels. Tune in for a hang once a month on Sundays. Listen as we wrestle with the questions of the day. Underground thoughts from the common hymnal family. 8 o'clock Eastern, it's the cyber soirée. Hey, soirée is about to be a party. Soirée. Tonight we gonna party. So we got for y'all. So we got.
That's great.
D
the Shade.
I said it's great. What do you want from me?
There was no energy there.
I said that's.
Just wanted you to be a part of it, you know. That's it.
I said I didn't have internet that day. I didn't have cell phone coverage that day. It went out. Y'all not gonna feel for me, a black man without a cell phone coverage.
You might be safer out there in these streets with no coverage, so who knows? Y'all can try me all day. I got nothing to do with any of this.
Go, Brandy. I'll tag you in, girl. Go.
Brandy got time.
It's always nice. It's like it's delivered nicely, but it's always kind of incisive in probably the least pleasant way. So
no, it's great. That's a really good theme song. I'm really proud of you guys for finishing that.
JC and Gabby, y'all got a song for us today.
We got a song.
Oh, goodness.
Fun fact: D was not a part of this one either. So. Ay,
Okay.
Dios mío. Ayúdame, Señor.
Ay.
Ay, Señor.
No. Oh,
Today's my favorite soirée.
We love you.
Ooh, that's
this to left and right. Is that why this is your favorite song? Right?
Oh.
okay. 1, 2. Tu amor, pasando las fronteras, tu amor, que rompe las barreras, que alcancen las estrellas, y nada se compara. Tu amor, no importa la tormenta que enfrentamos, con su poder juntos vencimos. Miramos a los cielos esperando. We know that this is love that won't let go. Oh, how great the love that leads us. Tu amor renueva vida. Oh, how great the love that leads us. Tu amor renueva vida. Tu amor, pasando las fronteras, tu amor, que rompe las barreras, que alcancen las estrellas, y nada se compara. Tu amor, levántense hermanos y hermanas. Oh, in His eyes somos familia. Miramos a los cielos esperando. We know that this is love that won't let go. Oh, how great the love that leads us. Tu amor renueva vida. Oh, how great the love that leads us. Tu amor renueva vida. Tu amor, pasando las fronteras, tu amor, que rompe las barreras, que alcancen las estrellas, y nada se compara. Tu amor, come on, that's my favorite part. Hey, tu amor, tan bello, tan bello. Tu amor, me da vida, me da vida. Tu amor, tan bello, tan bello. Tu tu amor, me da vida, tu amor, tan bello, tu amor, me da vida, tu amor, pasando las fronteras, tu amor, que rompe las barreras, que alcancen las estrellas, y nada se compara, tu amor, tu amor. How great the love that leads us, tu amor renueva vida. How great the love that leads us, tu amor renueva vida. Tu amor. I'm just kidding. Let's go.
Hey!
That's
Wepa!
That's SOA. You got it, girl. Wepa.
I mean, you taught me well, JC, so.
I am so proud. Like that legit just made me like, wow. I just
Well, you taught me that song.
yo.
Tu amor buena vida.
You know that just reminded me of Gabby and I. We're about to celebrate 8 years of being married this month.
Oh, congrats.
And at our wedding, so she's Greek. I don't know if y'all know that. She looks Latina, but she's Greek. And so, you know, the Greeks, they go like, opa! And the Puerto Ricans, you know, we go, wepa! So we had like
A battle.
A battle. There was like 500 people legit. Just,
Opa whip up.
Ooh.
opa and wepa, like
Just,
battle,
like,
yo.
battle across
It was like,
It was great.
it was awesome.
I love that so much. I love that. Thank y'all.
I love that song.
Yep.
That's one of the best songs I ever wrote. That's a good one.
I'm proud of you.
Good job,
I'm proud
D.
of you.
Good job, D.
That's a good one, man.
What's your favorite part, D?
I really got into my Spanish bag.
I mean, you
What's your favorite part?
My favorite part is that's the part I wrote. Oh, how great the love that leads us to amor en nueva vida.
Come on!
What are you talking about?
Yo, that's that humble part coming
I
through.
was unprepared. I really didn't think he was going to come through like that.
Me either. I tried to get him, but it didn't work out. I got.
Bro, you can't get me, bro.
That's from hitting up those Jibarito food trucks over there, bro. That Boricua.
That's from going to shoot. I forgot my tortilla spot. Oh Lord, where my tortilla spot? El Milagro.
El Milagro.
Well-
Hey, good bomb.
As soon as we finish this Zoom call, I'll be able to finish my taco that's been sitting here for an hour.
Oh my
excited.
gosh.
You can eat it.
Eat it.
What's in the taco, Britt?
What's what?
What's in the taco?
What's up? What? Huh?
What's in the taco?
I just wanted to hear you say it again. It's steak. It's
Why? Why? Can I ask why I'm getting the smoke today? Can I just ask why?
I don't know, D. I don't know. It's just something. I don't know. I really don't know where it came from. It's just I think there's something about you that required
The smoke? Today?
You required the smoke.
Damn, that's
It's
crazy.
because you're so fire, bro. That's why.
Oh, God.
That's what it is.
That's why.
You so fire.
I quit.
Now watch. I said a compliment. Now he's gonna come back at me.
No, I wasn't saying anything. I was just happy to have some breathing space.
Oh man.
Yo, I want to bring out Bobby because Bobby's here to do some stuff, and he been messaging us, and we need to bring Bobby into the party.
Hey, there you go.
Bobby.
Hey,
Go,
hey,
Bobby.
hey,
What up, Bobby? Thank you for being here.
hey, my pleasure. Thanks for having me. I love
How
it.
you feeling right now?
I'm feeling very happy. If you're talking about like just this moment right now, being around all y'all is awesome. I love it.
I mean, we're awesome, so we believe you. But
Yeah,
we
better.
just released 2 singles for our Praise and Protest project, and the first 2 songs are you. How does that feel? Like, that's incredible.
That's crazy. It's surreal, man. Like 3 months ago, I was just kind of chilling at the church. and not even awake, man. I was asleep. Wasn't in this battle for justice. Just kind of was. I was a black man, but wasn't engaging in anything. And then I meet some common hymnal folks. I didn't know what I was getting into. I met you first, Brittany.
You
We
did.
didn't even know each other was. Hey, can I help you?
Nope. You helped me and gave me a guitar strap because I left mine. Well, I gave it to someone who left it in L.A. But anyway,
You
that's
still
another
mad?
story. I'm still holding that grudge.
Call that name out, Brittany. Who was it? Call the name out. Say the
It was
name.
Connor. It was Connor. I'm not actually holding a grudge. I just think it's hilarious. It's actually still in LA. Like I still don't have my guitar. Like, and it's not his fault actually.
We gotta start calling out the patriarchy now. It's his
The
fault.
picture.
What is he doing?
Yo, I was joking and teasing when I said I know we're awesome, but y'all are awesome. I miss y'all. Every Sunday we get together. I really be missing y'all. But,
So Bobby, 3 months ago, you met Brittany while you were fighting against the cause for justice, actively fighting against it. And
Okay. Hey, well, yeah, you right. Hey,
No. That's why you getting smoked, D.
hey, you
right,
right.
this
Nah,
is
nah.
exactly why you keep building narratives. Yeah. Terrell Wilson.
I'm just saying. Okay,
He's philosophically correct.
that's what I'm
'Cause
saying. If you're not down with us, not me.
Hey, you know,
Get the
I'm
smoke.
over here. I'm in the house. You feel me?
Oh,
You feel me?
Oh,
are you
okay.
awake now?
Yeah. I'm out the house. I came out the house, y'all. I came out the house.
I see that.
Wow. All right,
Stop.
Bobby, you gonna play your song for us today?
Yeah.
What's the name of your song? What's the name of it?
It's called Waking Up. I guess
well,
you
that
could call it a song. I've been calling it a piece, you know.
Yeah, it's a spoken word piece. I'm sorry. Yes, absolutely.
Because I'm not really singing.
Oh, that's lit.
Interesting story. Ryan pretty much pulled something out of me that I didn't know I had in me. I just, he asked me to do it, and I love Ryan so much. I see what he does. I'm a fan. And he's like, hey, I think some spoken word could go over this. And I was like, all right, never done that. I didn't tell him that until afterwards. When he said it, he thought it was good. Then I was like, oh, guess what? I've never done this before.
It's incredible.
So yeah,
Love it.
it was cool to see that there's something in me that I didn't know was there. Thank you, Ryan. Props to you, brother.
Amazing.
All right.
Dope. Thanks for
got
being here, Bobby.
Absolutely. From the top. Fruitless sleep, wakeless ignorance, like running from time or digging the sky. Emotionless, motionless, resting blissfully, awoken bitterly, to realize we have experienced ears and virgin hearts, to never feel like this before. To be rebooted, the zest of being refreshed and fitted with new shoes, to sleepwalk for so long and stumble through the night. How humbling the light. I turn my face with hand upraised, overwhelmed by the rays of truth that illuminate injustice. Squinting my eyes and forcing them open, I'm incensed, my fist now clenched. It hangs in the air as a beacon for those that follow. Lady Liberty, no torch. We suffer in violence, and the violent take it by force.
Yo,
Love it.
Dude.
it's
Amen.
fire. And that was your first time doing something like that?
Yeah.
It's
Yo,
incredible.
can we
Thank you.
Ryan, can you pop up too real quick? I know this is everybody gotta see Ryan, dude.
Ryan came through, right?
Ryan.
Bobby and Ryan.
Wow,
Man, that was really fun. Thank you for letting me draw that out on you.
Yeah, man.
that's super.
It's the most humble response I ever
It
heard.
Hey, call me anytime. Hey, call me anytime, man.
You killed it.
Fire. Thank you so much for being here with us, Bobby.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
I will tuck away back into the darkness.
Bye, Bobby. Thank you so much for being here.
You're
Now we're gonna
welcome. Oh, yeah. You're welcome.
All right.
Wow.
Hallelujah.
We're gonna have interlude songs up in here for all the stuff that we do.
All this.
Yeah.
Gabby
It's
was
true.
in my back, y'all. She was just baby's crying. My parents upstairs, they can't handle it. My dad came down with his New Yorican accent. Giancarlo, make me proud for this baby. I'm like, Poppy, figure it out, man. No, I need help.
I love your family.
No, my dad looked like a straight up Boricua version of Mr. Clean. Bald, he bumped, got his. Sorry.
Hey,
Boricua
Sandra.
version of Mr. Clean.
Sandra!
Hey, Sandra.
Sandra!
And Jared.
Hey, we got people just popping up.
I like it. And where's Malcolm at? Because we might as well have everybody popping up. Here we are. Hey. The gang's all here. Yeah. Wow. And apparently getting dancing. We got a special energy today, you know. We out here.
We're about to get into trouble, and I am for it.
As we do, you know, as we do.
We're about to get in some trouble.
Well, then how about I direct the trouble a little bit, because that's apparently, you know, I'm getting trolled so much this week by All Lives Matter Christians. It has been, I should be getting a nickel for every time. I have a lot of nickels by now. I'm sure Sandra probably got some of those too. But
can we call them Christians, or are they just American Christians, or All Lives Matter Americans?
You know, we can put a trademark around it. I'm doing some legitimate data collecting around how people how Christians troll, but we'll see what comes of that in the future. But I will direct our trouble today because we are really excited to have some guests and friends on. So Sandra, Jared, Malcolm, I don't know, like I can't call you a guest in your own thing. It's like you always want to be invited in, but like this is your thing, you know. I can't mess with you. But we're just excited to have y'all on with us. And, you know, we're obviously a group of people who have a lot of fun together and get to know each other. And we're all centered around this particular type of work, trying to have a more, what we'll call today, decolonized Christianity, decolonized worship. And I know for me that I'm not usually trying to have those conversations with people that I don't know, like 4 sentences about. And so for folks who might be listening, I'd love if you could each just introduce yourself. What does it mean to be you? So Sandra, can I have you just introduce yourself so that people can get to know you just a little bit?
Yeah, so I am a pastor and a liturgist and an author, and I live in Chicago. I'm the daughter of 2 immigrants who came to Chicago from Latin America, from Colombia and Argentina. And I was raised there, and I'm raising my family there. So I live on the west side of Chicago. And I am the executive director of an organization that we just started called Chasing Justice, which is looking at mobilizing and really guiding emerging leaders that are already mobilized for justice. So they're doing the work. We're not trying to convince them. And we're just saying, hey, sometimes you wake up and it feels like so overwhelming, you can't keep going. So what does it look like to keep pursuing justice in the midst of the daily news, you know? So, yeah.
Yo, that's so needed. That is so needed. Yeah, I love that. I do love that. I love that you're also kind of not so subtly being like, I'm done with 101 people. I'm trying to actually do a thing here with people I like.
Yeah, I mean, I am a speaker, so I speak at a lot of conferences and events, and I write for, you know, articles, and I write books, and I do have different on-ramps for different types of settings, but so I actually get a lot of flack from people because I'll be like speaking at an organization, like a national gathering of mothers of preschoolers, for example. And people are like, why are you there? You know, I'm like, well, because if anyone's going to be the closest attached to what's happening at our borders, it's going to be the mothers of small children who put them to bed at night. And so I don't know if that work is, I don't know if it's effective or not, but with Chasing Justice, I feel like we're just really saying, hey, there is a generation of people, particularly voices of color, that are in the communities, that are in the work. And I would like to take the last 2 decades of mistakes that I've made and at least maybe help folks along the way with what a sustainable pursuit of justice looks like.
That's good.
Yeah.
Thank you. And Jared, how about you? Who are you?
Well, this is fun. I want to spend, you know, this is the morning for me. This is a great way to wake up. Who am I? Maybe I should start where I'm coming from. This is Wajjuk Noongar Budja, which you'll find on a map since colonisation as Perth, Australia. My dad migrated in 1972 from a place where my family in my dad's generation were literally taking up arms against British imperialism. And yet I arrived in this place known as Australia, and my family on my dad's side experienced being white for the first time. My mum's side of the family are Russian Jews. And so both sides of my family are recently white. And these stories and what it means that where my grandmother lived just around the corner, there is a George Floyd mural on the wall there because the way they're connecting the struggle of Indigenous people in the island known as Ireland, particularly in the north, to whether it be Gaza or West Papua or Catalonia or other places that appear on the murals in Ardoyne in Belfast. So there's a little bit around my background and how I find myself here. What I do, I'm a new dad. Noah's just turned 12 weeks old, which is exciting. So I'm loving that. But usually the stuff that shows up in bios is stuff like I was the founding CEO of Common Grace, which represents 47,000 Christians in Australia working for healing justice around Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander justice issues, climate justice issues, domestic violence issues, refugee and asylum seeker rights issues. And that's been my life as a climate justice activist, living in community for the last 15 plus years with recently arrived people who I've had the honor of sharing my house and life with. So I bring their greetings as well. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, we're so delighted. We're so delighted to have you both with us and a part of the common family, and it's just fun to have co-laborers in what we do. Mal, anything you want to say about yourself today? How you coming in?
Oh, I have to unmute myself. I'm the instigator of Common Hymnal. I'm an all colonizers should matter about colonization kind of a Christian.
Classically short.
And I'm an Estonian Jew. I don't know about his Jewish heritage. So I'm half Estonian Jew. And yeah, it's lovely to be here.
Yeah, so glad. Because I actually think that for this very brief conversation that we're going to have, you all are great voices to have in the room. I really wish I could be in a room with you all at this point. I'm so tired of just staring at people far away, but it is beneficial because we can be so far away from each other and connect. So I can't express enough gratitude for that. But like I said before, we're going to talk a little bit about decolonized Christianity or decolonizing Christianity, since that's many of our work. And so as we enter the conversation, I know a lot of folks may not actually have a good grasp. Even like when people say things like white supremacy or anti-racism, they're just buzzwords in the culture right now. And I think decolonized or deconstructed, all of those kinds of terms are out there. And so as you think about decolonizing Christianity, what does colonized Christianity look like to you? What do you think that looks like?
And Sandra, it's your turn.
Oh my gosh, please. Well, yeah, it's kind of interesting. I appreciated the comments you made, Brandy, before we went live about like some people just don't even understand what that is. And I think it's because it feels like such a, I don't know, nebulous word, like an academic word, like it's way out there. And for those of us that are in both worlds, like we're studying, I'm doing I have a research grant right now from the Louisville Institute to do research specifically on decolonizing worship. And so I know what I mean by that. I think I know what I mean by that, but when I talk to people about it, they're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, what I mean by that is if we look at, and specifically in the area of worship, if we look at our history, for example, we're studying in seminary, I studied, history of Christianity or history of world missions. And we look at what happened in the 18 and 1900s with hymnody, like how hymns then became kind of forced onto people groups, styles of worship, ways of dressing, ways of doing church and practicing their faith. I think we actually are in that right now when we have 6 composers on 3 continents writing and distributing theology via Spotify and iTunes. And the worst part about it is that they're not forcing it on it. We're actually, as communities of color globally, consuming it and not asking questions about what's happening to us inside. And I think that shows me at least, the level of internalized racism that we carry, the idea that like what good could possibly come, you know, from our communities, and that it's so sneaky that literally when I look at like I listen to music when I ride my bike. So today I just put like top charts Christian just to see what was there, because I don't listen to worship music.
That's brave.
So top charts Christian, and I listened to it and I was like, wow, this is just, first of all, it's just terrible theology. It's just it's you know, everything about it made me upset, you know. And I was like, Latin music. Then I went to like Latin music, and I was like happier. But I think when I think of decolonizing worship or decolonizing Christianity, I think the first thing is just, it's very practical for me. It's to ask who is messaging who God is and what God is about, and who gets to tell that truth, and who gets to write that truth, and who gets to write that truth to music, and who gets to tell the rest of us what is not true, you know, which I've been, you know, on the receiving end of that my whole life as a Reformacostal Latina, you know, person that's fighting for equity and all that kind of stuff. So I think that really decolonizing for me personally is imagining what the Christian faith would have looked like. Like, what would it have sounded like and been like and looked like if people had been allowed to encounter God and learn about Jesus and experience the presence of the Holy Spirit, and then form expression to God through that, without anybody else's lens. So I think for me, it's a process of reimagining, and that's hard work when you have so many layers already there for you. So it's a creative process, and I think it takes a community of people to do it with.
That was beautiful.
Yeah, so great.
So good. It's so good. I even think about, I played a cajon, and so I've been thinking about how like that is a reclamation for me of enslaved people being brought over and not having instrumentation to use, and using boxes on ships to create music. So I've been thinking about decolonizing by reclaiming in that way. So I resonate with a lot with what you're saying in that. Yeah, Mal and Jared, what are y'all thinking about? Because Sandra just gave us a wealth of depth and beauty.
Jared next, not me, please.
Oh, thanks, mate. Yeah, I think firstly, Sandra, that was so beautiful, and so thankful for your work and witness, and how that continues to bless, and what it means for so many of my friends here. So thank you. I think it's important to frame decolonization theologically, and I don't know a better text to do it than 1 John 3:8, that Christ came to defeat the works of the devil. And decolonization, I think, is an academic way of actually making practical what it is to join in defeating the works of the devil. If we take seriously that Jesus says that the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy, anything that comes stealing, killing, and destroying is clearly not God's agenda. It's literally anti-Christ. So a Christianity that comes stealing land and people, that comes killing Indigenous people, that comes destroying languages and cultures, I think we need to name it really clearly that it's of the devil. This is what Jesus has come to conquer. This is what Jesus has come to undo. And by naming that, we can then turn to the poets and the prophets, the musicians, the creatives, and actually hear what's being sung. So with your permission, I'd like to bring an incredible Murray poet, as well as songwriter, as well as singer, Kev Carmody, and I'm really looking forward to Brittany's cover of this song. But this song's called Thou Shalt Not Steal. I'm not going to sing it, but I'd love to bring this as an Indigenous Australian artist actually articulating what is the work of naming a Christianity that looks nothing like Christ and actually does the work of the devil, while at the same time holding up what Christ is about. Can I share just a few lines? Is that all right, Brandy?
Absolutely.
Please. You don't need my permission. If we're talking about being allowed, we're just doing the thing.
Here we go. 1788, down in Sydney Cove, the first boat people land. Said, sorry boys, our gain's your loss. We're gonna have to steal your land. And if you break our new British laws, for sure you're gonna hang. Or you'll work your life like convicts, with a chain around your neck and hands. They taught us, "O black woman, thou shalt not steal. O black man, thou shalt not steal. We're going to civilize your black barbaric lives, and we're going to teach you how to kneel." But your history couldn't hide the genocide, and the hypocrisy to us was real. Because our Jesus said you're supposed to give the oppressed a better deal. So we say to you, white man, thou shalt not steal. Oh yes, our land, you better heal. For me, Brittany, there's so much. Why I want to hear Brittany actually cover the song. There's so much that in locating the poets and the prophets in our different locations, we can clearly hear articulated that there are Christianities that look like this work that shares in the victory over the works of the devil that come stealing, killing, and destroying. And there's Christianities that merely want to play chaplaincy to the continual crucifixion of peoples, of lands, of places, of languages, of cultures. And discipleship has to be about decolonizing, because decolonizing is the practicalities of what it is to put Jesus' example into practice.
Go for it, Val, please.
I grew up in a colony, and I learned that prior to the Second World War, when South Africans described the issues with race, they termed racism as the issues between the Dutch and the British. I watched an old British news piece from 1938, and it said that the racism in South Africa is making great strides. The Dutch and the British had a good meeting last week, and the issues of everybody else were never ever considered until everybody else started rising up after the Second World War. And I grew up in Zulu, in Zulu culture, where because of colonization, every young Zulu kid wanted to be Michael Jackson, and there's nothing more awkward than a young Zulu doing Michael Jackson impersonations, but there's nothing like Makanga music, our music, which nobody else in the world can do, and it's still one of the most amazingly moving musics. And my early years of being a Christian were campaigning that we should have dignity, but we were always white, because I grew up and I was the product of legislated racism, and so we was always us. And it was only after being a Christian for about 7 years that the we expanded. And when I suddenly desired incredibly to suddenly experience this ambassadorial spirit, which I'd experienced in relationships with our Black community, to experience it in our worship and our music and our culture, because it took me 7 years of being a Christ follower to actually discover the richness of another culture, of actually meeting people who just had skills and a way of looking at life, which just made my experience so impoverished, and it just made me feel so rich so many times. So since my 20s till today, I guess I'm just hungering for the pain and the unnecessary sort of nurturing of colonization to be ended, so that the richness of every people group could be discovered. Because last I read that the gift of the father to his son, his inheritance, was not a house or a bank balance, but it was the ethnicities, it was the nations of the world were the inheritance. Last I checked, the commission of Christ is to go and make disciples of all ethnicities. And there's just something so important about the relationship between Christ and nations, between Christ and ethnos, and that somehow should be reflected in us. But as Sandra said, a handful of very, very well thought through, well constructed ministries put their stamp on what we sing culturally in every country in the world, and we all the impoverished for it. The hunger, we accomplish something tonight. If there's one thing we bring to the table, we can ever bring to the table, is make people crazy hungry, crazy curious. As Sandra said, what would happen if every culture, if the nations that are the inheritance of Jesus would actually be around the throne together, innovating, sharing, applauding, singing, writing, what would that be? We don't know, because 5 very successful ministries have predetermined what will happen, and obviously I say that as a person who has relationship with all 5, so I risk my life every single time I talk about it.
Yeah, you risk your life. When I say it, my friends always like, you say the things, and then I get in trouble because I'm friends with them. I'm like, sorry, but I'm just trying to say it like I see it, So I appreciate actually the work that you do in that. And just, I think I was thinking, even when we write the songs, people steal the songs from us. Like I was listening to the Christian charts today, and I heard 3 versions of Waymaker before and the original creator of the song, the Nigerian woman, hers does not even show up on the top Christian charts of this particular app that I was using. And I was like, man, to be a Nigerian Christian, like to be a person.
We say names.
What?
Over here. I said we say names over here, Sandra. Say the name.
Okay, so man, like to be a Nigerian Christian and to have gone through what you've gone through in the level of persecution that Christians go through in Nigeria, like just with friends that live there and all that they have developed in their profound faith, and they write this song out of their experience that's like, Jesus, God is the waymaker, and I hear that song as an urban pastor in a community that has been profoundly affected over the last administration by the policies that we do. And I'm like, every Sunday when I hear that song, because we sing it a lot, I don't hear it through the lens of a really nice suburban mega, like I hear it through the lens of people that are groaning for a God who will do something for them, because this Nigerian woman gave it to us in this experience. So I feel like that's a song for people that come from suffering, and then when I hear it from the voices and the lips of the Central American men and women who have caravaned through countries together with their children, and I hear it in Spanish and I recognize the song because I recognize the melody, and I say, if this song has been able to carry a woman with 3 children through 3 countries and so much pain and violence, and then somebody makes it pretty and produces it and puts it in this arena, and I'm like, no, you can't have that song. That's not for you. So I think it's not only that we're not, and I use the word allowed, but it's that even when we produce something beautiful, it gets taken and reshaped in their own image. And that's called idolatry. And I hate it. And I think it's evil and it should be snuffed out. It's like, no, if you want that song to be heard, then use your platform and let the frickin' woman who wrote that song from her experience sing the song so that she can get the, credit where credit is due. So I'm so tired. I'm tired of the passive ignorance and the willful ignorance that people utilize to quiet us and to silence us. And then when we do something beautiful, that's a move of God to actually erase us from that story. I'm sorry. I just made me so mad this morning. I'll be quiet now.
Not here, you don't have to be. Yes.
Can we talk about the place now, the memorial here in Minneapolis of George Floyd now being utilized in ways of revival?
Nasty.
Gross.
I'll just leave it there.
I don't want that revival.
No.
Nasty.
It's not a revival.
For the Aussie who doesn't know what's going on, can somebody fill me in what's actually being discussed?
I'll say this. I believe that there are some local churches in the community, local there, that are truly trying to just be the hands and feet of Jesus. I believe it, and I think that that's important, right? That's a beautiful thing to see. But when people are coming from other states and other agendas, in particular very strong political agendas, where their campaigning has shown quote unquote evil and showing pictures of immigrants trying to cross the border, and coming to the George Floyd Memorial, and leading a worship set list. I mean,
Wow.
yeah, I mean, it's
very weird to watch.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's been hurtful. It's not even like a personal opinion. It's really hurtful
Mhm.
to watch that. It's really hurtful to watch that happen. And I thought it was just me maybe, and then I just looked online. I'm like, it's a lot of people who are really feeling deeply hurt. That's you don't tamper with that type of stuff. That's a memorial site. That's just hurtful.
It's
That's
like
just really it's hurtful.
it's in the same way of sacred ground, and I'll say this, I'll name it, Sean Foyt, which I didn't know. I don't know the dude from Adam. Like, all I know is what I've seen, and like I, I'm I've done Bethel songs at church and whatever. I'm not gonna try to throw that whatever, but it's this thing of like, yo, but like, for real, you gotta
Yeah,
think.
I think the crazy part, like, sort of back to what Sandra was talking about in terms of like how folks sort of shift things into their own image, or even like are just are pining now for theology. I think what's amazing is like the songs of certain worship movements that have absolute like horrid nasty theology when it comes to not only justice but a myriad of things, like how the churches that would not accept those that same sort of theological context from a black church is accepting the songs from all these places that have wretched, horrible, twisted, evil theology. And so, like, for me, it's like I think the weirdest thing in the world is that we sing the songs of these places. I think the weirdest thing in the world is that we do all the mental gymnastics it takes to sing songs from places from which we know the theology is straight up twisted and evil, but we can't do those same. It's not even like the same level. It's just the easy 1-2 steps it takes to say something like Black Lives Matter. I think that is the nastiest thing that I've just witnessed over the last really decade of my own awakening.
That's
Is
right.
like folks won't say Black Lives Matter, but will sing a whole song full of jacked up lies and misgivings and mischaracterizations of what God is like, and will defend the people that back those things up simply because their songs are good, but can't say a simple truth like Black Lives Matter. And I'm
So
And sorry, Sandra, you go.
I was just gonna say that I'm gonna put something out there, and you guys could decide to hate it or not. But I'm just gonna put it out there because this is where I'm getting to in the work that I'm doing, both just practically as well as in my research and in my kind of academic space. I am pretty convinced that that people with power cannot decolonize. So I would not use the word decolonizing if I was a person with power, a white person with power. I wouldn't use it because you don't have eyes to see. Your location doesn't have eyes to see all the ways it is colonized. So therefore I would say white people deconstruct, and they like that because they don't feel any kind of it's like it happened to them. That's the language when I hear white progressives. It's like this thing happened to me, and I have to deconstruct it, but there's no personal. So I do think white people participate in the work of decolonizing, but I think at the center of that work has to be folks of color and women of color specifically, and marginalized, socioeconomically impacted women of color, because they can see things that we cannot see because we're so intertwined with empire and power that we just can't see them. It took us, all through our college years to realize that we were being colonized ourselves as people of color. Whereas the person like the abuela next to me is like, oh girl, I knew that a long time ago, like I could have told you that. So I think I would say the work of decolonizing has to be done by those who have been colonized, not by those who have colonized, because white people, as much as they try to understand, or those of us with power of any kind and privilege of any kind, we literally can't see because we are so impacted and affected by and intertwined with power that we have too much to lose. We have too much to lose. And the farther up you get, folks, the farther up you get in that institution or in that, the more you have to lose. And all of a sudden you get, shunned and called a heretic and all these other things. So I just think that, first of all, I think that there's two things. One is the deconstruction is different than the decolonization. I think white people like to deconstruct. Yep. I don't think they like to reconstruct very much. I think they like to deconstruct a lot because it feels like something that happened to them, not something that they actually are complicit in. And I think that decolonization ultimately is the work of those who have been colonized. Our communities are the ones that get to say, that's idolatry, that's Gnosticism, that's individualism, that's capitalism, that's syncretism, because we can't tell as white American Christians or even American Christians, frankly, we can't tell how syncretized we are, So I'm just gonna put that out there. I don't know if it's right or not, but that's where I'm at.
I would actually take it a step further. I think Dr. Willie James Jennings is really helpful when he says white people can't be saved. And what he means by that is whiteness itself is Constantinian Christianity on the crack of what a 14th, 15th century papal bull from Pope Nicholas V that gives permission to steal, kill, and destroy, do the works of the devil. And that's where we get an understanding of whiteness, that whiteness is something that's only existed for the last 500-600 years tops, as certain European ethnicities erase their own identities in a project that was literally stealing, killing, and destroying worldwide. The work of white people, and to lift up a Wiradjuri theologian here in Australia, Adam Gowan, he talks about that we don't need any allies, we need accomplices. We need those who are willing to share prison cells with us. The work of white people is to remember who they were before they gave up their own ancestors, their own cultures, their own languages, their own identities, their own songs, their own dances, their own stories, for what it is to fall into this false default setting of these places that have been stolen, whether it be on this continent or yours. And I think the importance of actually naming that, then we can have a conversation about whites. I mean, it's the whole thing. The reason why white fragility is so fragile is that it's not real. Whiteness is not a biology. No one is born white, but whiteness is real in the way that it constantly erases it removes all sense of place, and it removes song. And that's why people voluntarily download those 5 Christian worship, and I'm sorry, I'm not Christian cool enough to know who they are, but like those 5 places where those things are coming from, instead of singing their own songs that have been sung over them. And so one of the greatest moments of my life was hearing Dr. Cornel West quote me in front of others, which for those who are Cornel West fans, you'll know how exciting that is. But what he said is that white people, we have nothing to lose and everything to be liberated from in confessing white supremacy. We get back our own stories, our own identities, and it will mean that we have to step into the places of lament where we realize what not only we've participated in, but what we've done to our own stories that meant that we erase the stories of others. That is why discipleship is another word for decolonization. And it's the work of all of those who want to find out what it is to be human in Christ Jesus.
Beautiful.
So good. It's so good. I feel like it's a bummer because we could talk about this for so long. There's so much depth to this conversation. Now, were you going to say something?
I was just going to put down a marker for this project and this initiative at this time. I learned at age 25 that one of the core tenets of Black consciousness, Steve Biko's philosophy in South Africa, was basically that we don't need you, white people, to take initiative. We have dignity and we can take initiative. And I learned that a really awkward, embarrassing way over a 6-month period. And I had to eventually come to terms with the fact that God also made me, and I had to figure out how to just not function, not just feel guilty and want to retreat and everything all day long. This initiative, this party that we were at, I did instigate it, and I'm obviously exceedingly white. But the subtext of this project for us is racism. Yes, murder is terrible. Yes, slander is terrible. Yes, all these things are terrible. But the the subtext of colonization or racism is who has the money. At the end of the day, it's about who's got the money. So just to put down a marker as this initiative gathers moss, this is, yes, it's about music, it's about a lot of stuff, but it's actually about building a Black-owned company, a Black and Brown-owned company, a non-white company, whatever. It's something that this initiative is not a white initiative. There's diversification is very in vogue in Christianity. It's a fashion right now, and it's always under the leadership and has and the check account of white people. This initiative is on the long-term journey to build something different that's not white owned. It could have been anyway, I'll just leave it there. I just want to put down that.
And that also, I think that also means that the journey itself has to be different. It has to embody different values, which I see you all doing so much with Common Hymnal. It's like, the journey actually has to, we can't just take the white way of doing things and do it as people of color and expect a different result, because we've bought into the actual system that creates that kind of power dynamic and the games that are played there. Mm-hmm. But I think that's exactly with Chasing Justice. It's like, we know the statistics about nonprofits that are led by women of color. Like, we don't get the funding, we don't get the grants, we don't get the foundation money. And yet we said, Mark Reddy and I, as an Indian Australian man and myself, we said, we're going to do this, and we're just going to believe that whatever we are doing is going to pave a different way of observing things, because we all do the work within the broader Christian community globally, which includes the white church, many of us. But it's just different to do it in your own space. It's like, I can go to your table, but I'm always going to be subject to your table. And for some of us, especially women of color, we're still in the kitchen. We're not even at the kids' table or at the table. We're in the kitchen. And I'm not waiting for my turn. And I'm now in my 40s. I'm 46. So I'm like, I can't keep waiting for my turn. I'm a grown-ass woman. Like, I've done my work. Like, I've been on the ground, and now it's time for me to do it. And even if I am scared, which I am, and even if half the time I don't believe I can, which I sometimes don't, because I don't see other people like me doing it, I'm going to believe that there has to be a movement of things like Common Hymnal and Chasing Justice and others, because we can't just wait for white people to give us permission, or for organizations or institutions, because we're going to design something so distinct and so unique and so beautiful that being subject under those other places will never result in what we could do on our own, in our own space and freedom. And so I think it is really important. I mean, I love the work that all the different worship movements are doing, where they're writing, even just, we got a grant from the Calvin Institute of Christian Worship for our teens and our young adults and our adult worship leaders to write music together. And just the process of it was so helpful to understand, how did we go, what has been our worship journey, and how did we decide to sing what we sing, and why do we sing what we sing in that journey to writing our own music. So I think it's so critical, and sad that we would all not do that, because we're too afraid, or we're waiting for someone to give us permission.
I love that in that you model, or you become a possibility model for other folks in what could be. That as people see you doing what you're doing, and as people see, hopefully, God willing, us and what we're doing with Common Hymnal and all of our projects, that people would see that there is a way to live a more liberated, just, frankly, just kind, compassionate, whole Christianity.
Yeah.
It doesn't revolve around, as you say so well, Jared, the tools of the devil, right? Like, look, I was recently recording a podcast with one of my friends, and she was basically just saying, like, white people have everything to gain, because why would you want to participate in something evil? Yeah. Like, at the end of the day, like, we should be deeply grieved with our participation in something so evil. And so I love that one of the solutions to that evil is becoming a possibility model yourself. And I'm seeing that in a lot of women of color right now, and I'm kind of celebrating that all over the place as like my day job. And so I just love that. Yeah, we got to do more of this, but I am sensitive to our time and realize that, like, we literally could talk about this for hours and hours and hours. And maybe we should find some format at some point to partner together in a way that is as sustainable as the work that we would like to accomplish. Because I think I'm convinced that we can't do this ourselves. And I love a global multi-ethnic in like the non-cliche Christian kind of
Mhm.
way movement to see this happen. And so I just am so grateful to have gotten to have even a semblance of a conversation about it with you all. Is again is my deep joy and honor. So
Wow.
I just feel full of gratitude. So
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah, same.
Oh, man.
Wow. And
Beautiful.
thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you so much for everyone who tuned in and watched this and will watch this as it replays. A little announcement. Today is actually the last day of the soiree happening every week. So it's actually going to move to once a month after today. And we'll keep you guys posted about that on our socials. And yeah, we're going to have a pretty decent episode. I think the first one we come back for the once a month. We might even have the theme song recorded. You know, who knows? You know, D might throw a verse on. You know,
Ready for you, D. Come on.
D will be part of the process. You know, it'll be fun. It'll be great. And thank you so much. Thank you to our guests who joined us today. We love y'all. Thank you so much, Sandra and Jared.
Thank
you, Bobby, for coming. Incredible. And we will see y'all again in yeah, we'll let y'all know the date on the social. So pay attention there, not here. Thank y'all. Have a good night.
Thanks, everyone.